party. 100th show of the Three Guys Who Love Sports. Can you believe that?
I cannot.
The crowd goes crazy again. Yeah. My name's Chuck Burge, and this is my co-host, Robert Kenny. Robert, how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to pull up this picture. You know, you were talking about it, so you might as well see it. Where is it? Here we go.
You talking about
I don't wanna
eBay?
No, I didn't want to buy anything on eBay. Hey, I'm doing good. I was doing good before I tried to do this, Chuck.
Okay, so let me go.
I was just pulling
Oh,
up
a
the
new
picture
sponsor,
of
eBay.
I was pulling up the picture of Wilt with his 100 sign.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So this is
It's our show for the day.
so this is our 100th episode over 2 years. We've missed a couple of shows here and there, but this is episode number 100, so it's pretty cool. This show started a couple of years ago because of our friend Steve Pearson, who's here today. Steve has had.
Steve's the guy who was just eating that brought Sean across the front.
Yeah. But Steve was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and me and Mark Orr, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great.
So we had Mark, me and Mark took Steve out to dinner one night and told him we were going to start a podcast all about taking his mind off what he's going through for an hour a week. And if we could do that to help him and help everybody else that's going through mental and physical issues and just take their mind off of it and support them. And if you help somebody for an hour a week and I help somebody for a week, what a better place this world would be. So
yes, it will.
So let's, and look at this. ATI, Adam the Crooks, is back after a 2-week hiatus.
He's been crying about hating sports for a little while. So.
Yeah.
I have. I think I texted. I think I texted you that I hate football.
Yeah. And before that, you hated basketball, and then before that,
Whenever
he hates a lot
Purdue
of
loses,
sports.
he hates basketball. Whenever Dallas loses, he hates football.
This
so.
is true.
Oh, so you hate football a lot.
Yes, he
He
does.
hates football a lot.
I hate the postseason of football a lot
Yeah.
and basketball.
Yeah.
He hates postseason football usually really quickly.
Yeah, and postseason basketball really
March
quickly.
March
Yeah.
Madness, yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we've been doing on this show, and we stopped during football season because football was so crazy, but a couple of weeks ago we started back with who is the greatest athlete ever to wear the number, and we are up to week 22. So we're up to number 22. And there are a lot of different caveats when you come to looking up the greatest athlete that ever wore this number because we have found in our research today that, Robert, do you want to go ahead and explain that?
Well, if you go on to Chuck's favorite website, ranker.com, they'll give you a great list of every athlete that's ever wore the number. But he might have only wore that number for a week and a half, so it's kind
He
of
wore
hard.
it on the playground one day.
Mike Schmidt is one of the greatest number 20s of all time, but it turns out he did wear 22 for about a week and a half.
So we talked about him a couple of weeks ago.
We sure did. And
Yeah.
He was a great person to pick a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not so much for the 22.
So he wasn't always the greatest 20 of all time.
No, just for the first week and a half of his life.
Yeah. So there are very few genuinely 22s. The pitcher for the Dodgers,
Clayton
Kershaw, and Emmitt Smith, who I really have a hard time picking just because he's a Dallas Cowboy. But he was a pretty good running back.
He was decent.
He was a Florida Gator. We can give him credit for that.
Now, Chuck, we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Huh?
Emmett is the reason that Dallas is so overinflated about their opinion of themselves.
Because they were decent when Emmitt
right.
ran the ball.
I would
Like
like to say.
Like 3 Super Bowls.
I would like to say not all Cowboys fans are overinflated about.
Well, you are until
I
you get to the postseason.
expected to lose in the first or second round.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but
I think I said that on this show.
Cowboys mystique goes way back, whether it be the first Hail Mary or the first this. I used to always make fun of Emmett myself, saying that anybody could be a running back behind that line of scrimmage. Now, I don't know how many times you're going to get up compared to Emmett, but I did see a thing on him a couple weeks ago where they were talking about the broken collarbone, and he breaks the collarbone, and they're like, so we need you to stay in. And so you watch the rest of that game, and he covers that arm and leads with the other one, and I think he went for 140 yards.
But Emmett consistently got over 1,000 yards when getting 1,000 yards was a big deal.
Yep.
And by consistently, do you mean
Like 11 or 12 seasons of it?
Yeah, he got 937 as opening, and then the last 4 years he did not, although 2 of those were over 900. So, yeah, it's a lot of 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
with fewer games.
Yeah, but, that was one of the things about Emmett. If you look down his list for his career, 16, 16, 16, 14, 15, 16, 15, 16, 16, 15, 16. The guy was showing up week in, week out, whether he had a broken collarbone or not. So.
Yeah, so he was consistent for the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were good. Well, they win 3 Super Bowls with him?
Yep.
Three Super Bowls with Jimmy Johnson's picks.
With Jimmy Johnson's pick,
Since we kicked Jimmy Johnson out of the band, boy,
who just got inducted into the Ring of Fame, right? For
The Ring of
Dallas.
Honor, yes.
Ring of Honor, yes.
Yeah,
On December 30th, I
It
believe.
turns out Jer didn't want to do it for a while, but now at this point, Jer can't even sleep at night because his eyes are welded open.
Yeah, no, that's
When
pretty
he went to
crazy.
the bootleggers, boy, how horrible was that? You know,
Yeah.
you think about it. They haven't done anything. If that guy can check his ego in at the door, that team probably wins another 3 titles because nobody was drafting like Jimmy Johnson at that point.
Nobody was.
That guy. No, not him or him. That guy. I mean, it didn't matter who he picked. He knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. So who are some of the others? Clayton Kershaw we talked about. I don't think he's been around long enough to be considered one of the greatest athletes to ever wear 22.
I would beg to differ with you on that
All
one.
right, well, beg away.
So just to look up a couple of his stats. 8-time All-Star, an MVP award, an actual MVP, not a Cy Young, MVP. 3 Cy Youngs, won the Triple Crown for pitching.
What is the Triple Crown for pitching?
ERA, wins, and strikeouts.
Okay.
So you lead a league in most wins, most strikeouts, and everything else for a single year. You're pretty bad.
You can't be the greatest with the postseason record that Clayton Kershaw has.
Well, I don't say he's the greatest, but we're only talking about 22. I'm thinking
He
he's
can't be the greatest at anything with postseason record that he is.
Okay.
Ah,
What
he's won his
Roger
game.
22?
Roger Clemens?
Yeah.
Roger Clemens.
He was another one of those part-time 22.
He was a 22 when he was a Yankee, but he was a 21 when he wasn't doing things that made his skull grow in Boston.
Made his skull grow in Boston.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I remember seeing a guy, he was a collector, and he actually had 2 Bonds hats. One from when Bonds was a left fielder in 1991, and one from when Bonds was a left fielder in 2003. And you could fit the Pittsburgh hat inside of the San Francisco Giant hat. His head was so freaking big.
If you pay me the kind of money they were paying him, my head would be big too.
My only thing about those two, I don't want to bring McGuire into the whole whatever, but for those two, Clemens and Bonds, they dominated their sport before they ever did anything. Bonds was this big around winning MVPs. These guys did not need to taint their records forever to where, so if Bonds doesn't do roids, he doesn't break Hank Aaron's number, and maybe he has maybe he's tied with Willie Mays or somebody else on that list. Not exactly a horrible thing to, still have people like you.
Probably not. No. So should we give any credence to these other people that just wore 22 part-time?
I mean, you can.
I have my 22. Should I get it out of the way?
Oh, geez, please go ahead.
I mean, I haven't prepared for 20 or 21 yet.
So let me
But
say this.
I will give you a 20 and a 21.
Well, let me say
Next
this. Adam's been off for 2 weeks, so he's probably
I
going to
have.
talk a lot today. So
Yes.
go ahead, Adam.
Yeah,
Your number
so
22.
so my 22 is Joey Logano.
Oh, there we go.
He was named to NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers in 2023. Daytona 500 winner. He's the youngest Sprint Cup race winner at 19 years and 35 days. I mean, he won a NASCAR championship. He won the All-Star race. 536 races in the Cup Series, 274 top 10s, 32 wins. He's been a staple at Team Penske for years.
But you know what this pick means, right?
What does this pick mean?
When you say Joey Logano, which you've been saying race car drivers the
Yes,
entire time,
I have.
and it's kind of like to irk the rest of the world.
Yes.
But when you take Joey Logano above Emmitt Smith, who played on your favorite team, it clearly shows that you're not interested in facts. You just want to irk as many people as you can, which is fine. That's not a bad way to go through life. But, I mean, come on. Joey Logano.
If you had the chance to sit down and have lunch,
racing before
football. So if you had an opportunity to sit down and have
racing
lunch,
has never disappointed
Hey,
me.
Oh, that's not true.
would you shut up and listen to me for a second?
Yes.
So if you had the opportunity to sit down and have lunch with either Joey Logano or Emmitt Smith, you take Logano.
Can I take Danny Willett instead?
No.
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 Yes, you can take Danny Willett, and I'm going to have Logano and Emmitt Smith in the parking lot to whip your ass.
Okay, I'll take it. If I could sit down and have lunch with Danny Willett instead, I get my butt kicked. That'll be just fine.
Not only your butt kicked, you get laughed at. Out of choosing him
That's
out
fine.
Out of those three.
Listen, I get laughed at all the time anyway. It's not a big deal.
Thick skin, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So, Mark, I guess you're going with Emmitt.
You got to go with Emmett.
A little bit closer to mine, if you would.
I'm sorry. You got to go with Emmett. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody else kind of.
Can you turn him up just a little bit?
Yeah,
Larry?
he's down.
He's down. Mike 4. Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Nope.
No, it's still the same.
Still the same, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because that mic is turned off. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Is that
Yep.
better? Okay.
Yeah.
You can set that mic down. You just have to leave it on.
All the mics have to be on. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I got to go with Emmett because everybody else kind of paled in comparison.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with Moses Malone because he did wear it part-time, and his real number was 2, and what is today? Our 2-year anniversary of Three Guys Who Love Sports. So,
I would never pick Moses Malone for anything.
and nobody else would ever pick Joey Logano for anything. So
That's
Phil,
fair.
So let's make it
Good
fair.
basketball player, terrible person.
And let me throw out, don't ever say you wouldn't pick Moses Malone for anything, because there's an old comedy stand-up routine that is gold, classic gold, and it's, have you ever heard anybody talk about themselves more in the third person? Moses, what happened at the game? Well, Moses knew there was only a few seconds left, and it was going to be up to Moses. So Moses faked left and Moses faked right, and then I threw it up, and then Moses got my own rebound. And that's the way he used to give his post. I mean, he was incredible.
I can only say George is getting upset. That was a great Seinfeld episode.
There you go.
When George was talking in the third person.
No, Moses is a heck of a player.
Moses was a heck of a player.
They would not have won in 1982 without that man.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get a commercial out of the way. Who do you want to do? Larry, can you get Alvin queued up?
Yeah.
All right. Alvin Jameson, folks.
Hey, Alvin Jameson here, the mortgage guy. Are you looking to get pre-approved for a home loan? Or maybe you want to build a house from the ground up? Are you curious, or better yet, is your significant other on your back about making renovations in your current home? Call me. I have options for you. All self-employed individuals. Are you torn between writing off all your income or having to show your income to qualify for a house? I have a third alternative for you. Whether you're a W-2 employee, self-employed individual looking to do a purchase or pull money out of your current house, or better yet, we can't forget the investors out there. If you have that high interest rate, hard money loan and looking to refinance out of it, again, give me a call. I have options. Below are the states that I'm personally licensed in. Call me, 404-587-9033. Again, 404-587-9033. Visit the website, alvinjameson.com.
Second anniversary 100th show edition. Very cool to have Steve Pearson here with us today. And as always, Mark War. Mark just got a text from David Griffith. He's home with the flu, and that's why he didn't show up.
Damn, I could use that one.
Well, let's talk.
Dang it! I hate it when people.
We're going to have to
steal
go
my
off
excuse.
target here because we expected some other people to show up and talk about the Falcons, but we're going to talk about the Falcons. But first, let's talk about the NFL playoffs, the 2 games that went on over the weekend.
Playoffs.
I gotta say, guys, my teams have blown a lot of leads, but you're right. It is way more fun watching other teams blow big leads in important games.
Yeah.
And I predicted it to a few different friends. They're like, "Oh, this game's clearly over." I was like, "I think it'll be 21-all by the end of the first drive of the second half." Turns out I was wrong because they did not turn it on at the end, but it didn't take long after that.
Plus, it was already 24-7, so it couldn't have been.
Well, no, it was
21.
21-7 when I made that prediction, and then they kicked a field goal and on from there. But
Okay.
Holy moly!
So
claps.
who looked worse, Detroit or Baltimore?
Detroit.
Detroit for not kicking the field goal.
For rah-rah football, let me tell you, it's all about being a man. You got to be a man, so
So-
you got to do things like a man does.
So if you're me, I know Dan Campbell is an aggressive coach, and he's been going for it on 4th down all year.
Dan Campbell.
He has.
Don't
But-
get me wrong. I love Dan Campbell.
I love Dan Campbell too.
I play for him. I mean,
Somebody's got to.
Yeah, he was the coach in Georgia when you were there, right?
Somebody's got to clip him from behind, drop him on the ground, and start calling some stuff while he's
But
out.
if you've got a chance to go back up 3 scores, you got to kick the field goal.
especially late.
You
in the game.
got to
Yes.
kick the field goal. I mean,
Early in the game, late in the game.
Well, this was the mid,
Kick the field goal.
Three
mid
scores
third
is
quarter.
3 scores.
This is mid third quarter, and you've now taken another 7 minutes and
was
30
a-
seconds off the clock.
it's a
and you're that
14-point
much
game,
closer.
and you're right there.
You're in field goal range. Kick the field goal, go back up 3, make San Francisco score 3 times. I don't know. I don't care how aggressive you've been all year. This is to go to the Super Bowl.
This is what I'm. Let me say this spiel before I forget it. Sometimes there's great playmakers, a Shanahan or one of these guys who's considered a guru, and Andy Reid. They've got this play, and they've got this play in their back pocket, and they know everybody's going to miss it. Kelsey will be wide open, whatever the case is. Dan Campbell runs 2-point conversions, 7.
Great plays that he has are illegal.
Well, but it's not like you've been saving up and you're like, I know I got this one. No, you already used that one, and the next one, and the next one. So it's I just wanted to say that because it's not like somebody's been sitting on this one. Whatever was his best play was an illegal one. He tried that the first time against Dallas, and then downhill from there.
And to be fair, I think Jennings should have caught the ball on the 1 to 4th.
There's a lot of things that should have happened, but the coach's job is to take.
You got to take the probabilities into account. I don't like the word analytics. I'm tired
I
of the
hate
word
it.
analytics.
I never heard
You
it
sh-
till this year.
you should go for 4th and
I've
3.
heard the
I mean,
word, but I've never heard it
you-
used
you
so
play-
much in a
You're playing
football.
one way the entire year. You get into the playoffs and you're going for it on your own 30.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
How about was it Shanahan who went for it on his own 19?
Fourth and 2, yeah.
4th and 2, but I understand that one. You're already multiple scores down. You don't think you can stop the other team. There's certain times where you go, okay, hey, this is what the scoreboard dictates. This happening. That's not what Dan Campbell's doing.
I think analytics is something you get into in the 4th quarter, not something you do in the 2nd and 3rd quarter.
And in what you're talking about as far as points and everything, in a game like that where everybody's saying 30 points, it's going to be 30 points. You take points every time you get it. What was that? That was a 14-0 game, right? When Shanahan kicked his first field goal. So, instead of going, I should go for 7 because they've already got it. No, I'm just going to take a field goal. We're not going to have a 0. My team will be a little happier about the whole thing. It's horrible coaching. You can rah-rah people all day long, and when rah-rah works, man, everybody, you're a stud, you're a man. But when you're not, you're just horrible at math, and you don't make good decisions. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And he came up in his press conference and says, I don't regret any decision I make. How can he not regret a decision he made?
Because he's a rah-rah guy who he can't back down from that. He is physically unable to.
Well, all decisions are at a point in time. So if you didn't think it was a good idea, you shouldn't have thought it was a good idea when you did it. So obviously he thought it was a good idea for the time.
What
that
did he
did it.
say?
What
What did he say?
I believe, and I only caught a couple excerpts because I figured it was going to make my stomach turn too much if I had to listen to him say all these things. But didn't he say it's going to be very hard for us to make it back this far again next year?
He said some things to his team I would never say to a team.
But you know,
demoralize the team like that was our last shot. We may never get another shot.
but you know, that's.
But he's right.
Well, no, but
Who, Detroit?
I'm not going to
Oh,
say
they got
it's
a
not
window.
right.
They got a big window.
I don't think they've got a big window. Who's running this show? Is Goff's your guy from now on? You're re-signing him for so much money that you're
I think Golf earned it.
I don't say he didn't, but I'm just saying, you know, a long time window. Goff's already in year 8 or 9, and if you got a guy who's going to go for it every time, he'd be lucky if he made the playoffs next year, going for it at the clip he was this year. You know, what did you end up? I ended up 7-9 because I went for it 5 different times instead of just kicking field goals and ending up with an 11-6 record. So I don't know.
Do you think he's going to get Coach of the Year?
Boy, I tell
I
you,
think so. He took a team that was bad.
Let me just say that whenever you have sports, they always vote on all awards before the postseason starts. Thank goodness for Dan that is the case. He probably will, but there's probably a few people who are like, oh man, I'd really like to retract that vote right now.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah,
wanted that
I
job.
would think
though.
so.
He took that job when nobody wanted that job.
Yeah, I mean he's a great coach. But, you know, the same way that Dan Quinn figured out, I don't know what to challenge. I don't know when to call a timeout. I don't know when to do this. I need to have somebody over here to help me with those decisions. That's not something you can do for Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell is all about putting them on the table and letting you know, I'm a man and we're going to do things a man's way.
That's his style, man. You got to go with it.
You can, but you're not going to hang a banner anytime soon. That's all I'm
You
saying.
might. You just might not hang
You're
two.
still going to be one of the 4 teams that never went to the Super Bowl.
There you go.
All right. So we did have another game being played this weekend, Kansas City, Baltimore. And for 2 weeks in a row now, Patrick Mahomes has walked into a hostile environment, to say the least. And as an underdog, and him and Travis and Taylor have all gone in there, and they've kicked some butt the last 2 weeks.
Lamar couldn't save us.
Let's just say Lamar didn't even look like lethargic. He didn't want to run. You know, they made a comment during the Niner game when Purdy ran on the one play. They were like, he's looking like Lamar. Not if you watch the first game, he's not, because Lamar was not willing to run the ball. And I couldn't understand, you know, I understand the idea of a running quarterback thinking, you know, I want to prove to you guys that I can hit. But that guy's not open, and you're losing right now. And he just wasn't willing to, you know,
Well,
grab it
basically,
and go.
the defense they set up says, you're going to have to run to beat us.
Then you've got to run.
You know, they played that
That
deep
shell.
zone, and,
Yep.
you know, it's like, if you run,
Kansas City put 15 guys in the box. That's what one of the guys
they
said
also
on
said,
TV.
they also
said he
said
put
Lamar, if
15
you
guys
run,
in
we're
the
going to
box.
break you.
But you know what? How many running plays? Who knows how many running plays Baltimore had that weren't Lamar Jackson? Anybody guess?
He was their number one.
11?
He was their number one rusher
6.
this year.
They had 6 rushers, 6 rushing plays other than Lamar Jackson.
You know how many
Well-
completions he had in the first half?
5.
5, and one of them was to himself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which was
Well,
probably the best play of the game.
There was
longest completion to a quarterback ever, I think.
There was
From
one
himself.
point in the game where he was the leading passer, the leading rusher, and the second leading receiver.
That's not a good sign.
No.
That's not a
No,
good sign.
that's
No,
called a
but if
one-man
he's not
team.
MVP, then the whole thing's rigged.
You should be MVP, yes.
Yeah. So,
But
what
clearly,
happened?
and let's just throw one more thing out there, because you said how awesome the Chiefs were going into 2 hostile environments in a row. The week before, they played the 4th coldest game ever. So these guys are winners. I mean, you pencil in who you got to worry about: Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore. They've been through all of them. I don't know that San Francisco. I want San Francisco. Not really, because I'm a Falcons fan, and I used to cry a lot because of San Francisco. But I'm tired of watching Mahomes dominate people, knowing that it's that freaking Andy Reid. I mean, I still don't understand how Kelsey gets that wide open. It's like
Or Kels.
Kills.
I don't know how you let.
Or
Thank you.
Or
Finally,
Ma'ato.
somebody is on my side about I don't want Mahomes to win another Super Bowl.
Well, he's going
I'm not
to.
cheering for the Niners. I'm cheering against Patrick Mahomes.
So what do you have against Patrick Mahomes?
He wins so much.
it's incredible.
This is his 4th
Well,
Super
you're-
Bowl
you're-
in
you're-
6 years.
you're against
I'm
achievement?
tired of it.
You're against
No,
achievement?
I'm not. I'm not against achievement. I'm against when you win again and again and again and again and again and again.
Unless it's your team.
Unless it's my team,
Which has never happened for ATI.
which has never
If you
happened.
changed your allegiance to Kansas City, you would have a much better season.
I
And
remember
you'd
when,
be a happier person.
Yes.
I wouldn't be loyal then.
when Kansas City first started this run, I was like, wow, that's awesome. I don't have to worry about the Patriots anymore. Okay, I'm getting kind of tired of this. You know, I saw a stat the other day. Like you said, this is his 7th year, but he didn't even play the first year. That was an Alex Smith year. So really everything has been the last 6 years or whatever. He has played in 17 playoff games.
Yeah.
Do you know who else has played in 17 playoff games ever?
Peyton Manning.
The entire history of the Cardinals organization.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And
did
this
see
isn't like new.
And
I mean,
that's
these
107 years.
Correct. These guys were playing football in the 1880s. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? How-
7 postseason games.
He
17,
did
17.
He did tie. He tied Peyton Manning for most wins in the postseason, or for wins in the postseason, not
Right.
most wins, but
Well,
It's
it can't
incredible.
be most wins. It's got to be
it's not
Brady.
most wins. It's total
just,
wins.
Just wins.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah.
I don't care what it is. If you tie Peyton Manning, it's probably a pretty decent.
And he's
stat.
only in year 6, and he'll be around for 12 more years. And
And he's the first
going to win
quarterback
19
to start
Super Bowls.
4
Is there-
Super Bowls before the age of 30. I
Let
mean,
me ask you
the
guys
beat
this
goes
question.
on.
When this whole Belichick thing, thank you for not bringing him here, Mr. Blank. It's
We'll
the
get
first
into
time,
that in the
first
next
time I've
segment,
thanked you
yeah.
in a long time. Is there any possible way that Andy Reid doesn't become the all-time winningest head coach?
No.
Because when you start looking at the numbers and you start penciling 12, 11, 12, 12, 11, 10, it's not going to take him very long.
how old is Andy Reid?
Andy Reid's got about 60 games to win, and I think he's got at least 7 or 8 years left.
Well, somebody told me, or I read, or something, heard somewhere that he may walk away if they win this year. I don't see it happening.
You know, nobody knows what that horizon looks like. Everybody wants to be a John Elway, and very few are ever smart enough to do it.
Well,
so,
I know he has an acting career, a budding acting career based on his commercials.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah, when he starts,
The Burger
when he
King
starts,
commercial, he
when he
takes
starts
the
giggling
food.
at the end of that one, where he's like, "I can't keep a straight face," and we've done it. We've done this take 27 times.
And he's eating enough chicken nuggets to choke a horse.
Do those nuggies? Can we do those nuggies?
Sorry.
Oh yeah. So I think, and I'll throw out, I think Detroit's got a better chance of getting back to where they were than Baltimore does.
I don't know
Well,
about that.
Let's look at the other.
I don't know about
Look
that.
at the other teams in the division.
It's Lamar or Jared Goff.
Look at the other teams in the division.
Well,
You
I
give
don't
Lam-
think
you give Lamar a
Pickett's
decent
any
running back.
good.
No.
And
No.
the Browns still don't have a quarterback, although they were able to win with 4 different quarterbacks this
Yeah.
year. So you've got some openings there. My biggest thing, especially going back to how many carries that team had, J.K. Dobbins. If that guy doesn't get hurt in week 1, J.K.'s getting the ball 19 times in that game, and it's a much different game. And,
I agree.
Well, no.
No, I completely agree. I mean, Detroit's division is significantly tougher. You know that Jordan.
Tougher?
Yeah.
Jordan Love's coming on.
Other than the Packers, who else?
Bears have 19 first-round picks.
Well, give them a few years and they'll be all right, but not next year.
But
The
19
Vikings-
19 first-round picks, they could be good
The
next year.
Vikings with Kirk Cousins looked good.
I think the
Kirk
Vikings
Cousins may
got a
not
few
be
people
there
through
come
the
the end of
portal.
the year. Yeah.
Didn't the Vikings get some people through the portal?
Yes.
Probably out of Alabama.
But I mean,
On the cruise ship because they weren't in the playoffs. That's where they are.
Baltimore's only competition in their division is Joe Burrow.
Horse hockey.
Which right now Joe Burrow is.
Joe Burrow's hurt. so-
Cleveland's got one of the best defenses in
Joe
the
Burrow's
league.
hurt every
They get
year.
them a quarterback. They've got
Yeah,
running
but-
backs. So they're in no different situation
Yeah, but
than
it's
the Falcons are.
Cleveland.
I tell you what, you give Lamar a decent running back.
Well, he's got one as long as he's not hurt. J.K. Dobbins. yeah.
Well, but who knows what J.K. will be this year after this catastrophic injury? But
They should get him Derrick Henry.
But then you're
That would-
grabbing
that
and
would
you're
be- that would
reaching
be-
and
yeah.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
I understand, but whenever you're looking at Derrick Henry, start in high school, and he's the all-time #1 rusher ever in high school football. he had 300 carries a year for 4. So there's 1,200 carries. Then he went to Bama and he carried the. So, this guy has carried.
He's got some miles.
He's got a lot of miles and he's
You know
got a
what?
lot of hits that a lot of these other people don't
But I
have.
saw him drive that car this year, and it still drives well.
he swerves a little to the left, but it could just be a tire.
Speaking of driving cars, let's get into our Brian Bristow commercial where you should drive your car up to get your oil changed at Kennesaw Express Lube.
That's a nice transition.
Oh,
Man,
man, that was
he's
good.
so good at that.
It's almost like he planned it.
Oh, by the way, Derek Henry.
What's that?
Derrick Henry's 22.
Yes, he was.
Oh, there you go.
That was the other one. There are a lot of places to get your oil changed in the Kennesaw area, but if you're looking for a personal experience, then stop in at Castrol Kennesaw Express Lube or Lost Mountain Express Lube. We'll always do our best to get you in and out quickly, safely, and without a whole lot of fuss. We're a true owner-operated business where you'll find Brian under a car or a hood at one of the shops. We offer experienced, knowledgeable technicians and the latest computer software to help you maintain your new car warranty and keep your pride and joy running for the next 100,000 miles. We proudly offer Castrol products.
Brian, thank you so much for being a sponsor of Three Guys Who Love Sports. Loved your post today. You cracked me up. You are the man. A lot of people talking about you around town, and always good to hear about a sponsor, and especially you. Funny stuff on Facebook. Thank you, buddy. So speaking of funny stuff, what's going on over at Flowery Branch? We finally got a coach.
They hired a head coach that they had as an interim coach 3 years ago, and then they decided just to not hire him. Seems like
It was an underwhelming hire.
seems like a poor decision.
To me, it screams 3 more years of mediocrity, or however long his contract is, or until he gets fired.
I could only hope that he learned something.
But all the pundits, everybody on the NFL Network, everybody says this is the best hire of the year. They said that this guy knows what he's doing. He's worked on both sides of the ball now. The players love him. Some call him Ross. Some call him Haim. They're like, you can call me Ray or you can call me Jay, but I don't know what it is. But are you happy with who we have now as a coach? I know I texted Robert or called you immediately when I heard. And I said, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, and it was funny because my phone rang, and Chuck and I, we're great here for a couple of hours a week, but we don't talk a lot during the week. So I see this phone call from Chuck. I was like, we did it. We hired somebody. I don't know who it was, Chuck, and that's exactly what it was. I don't know if I'd have been underwhelmed probably 3 years ago if we would have hired him, but I don't know how you come to that decision now. It's kind of like picking the wrong girl, and then after you get divorced, you're like, hey, by the way, it was down to the two of you, and she didn't work out. So I was wondering if we could, it just doesn't seem right.
She
at any
usually
level.
says no.
And it's funny, you just
She would. She'd
that
slap
day,
you.
within the hour, Arthur Blank had kicked Bobby Slowick out of his house, and from his second interview, and all of a sudden, ding! It's Raheem Morris.
It really comes down. He's a defensive guy. We'll see what happens. He was with a horrible team when.
Tampa Bay.
When he was an intern coach for us 4 years ago.
Interim coach.
I think it was 4-7, and we
He
let
was
him go.
4-7.
Well,
We'll see how his offensive
got
coordinator
fired because
is.
the team wasn't doing well. I didn't think an interim coach was going to matter that much.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens. It's really going to come down. You've got all of these top 10 offensive pieces, and you went defense.
Well, it was the one thing that worked for the Falcons this year was defense.
Yeah, and
Except when they played the Panthers.
in Los Angeles,
You're going to get games like that. I mean,
Los
ask Dan
Angeles
Quinn.
was 20th on defense. Is that good enough?
Well, each team is so dramatically different. You look at how much they pay for 99 out in L.A., and, they don't have a lot of money to go for other defensive guys. So
Who says they don't?
You don't really need other defensive guys when you have Aaron Donald.
But when he's not healthy, like he wasn't this year, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But, we'll find out. I know we've named our OC. It's the quarterback's coach,
Shaq Robinson,
who has never called plays.
Well, he was quarterback's coach and offensive co-coordinator
Correct, but
and passing coordinator.
That's kind of like a Eric Bieniemy thing. When you're standing next to, you're standing in Andy Reid's shadow. It's like, I don't know if I should give you too much credit because we all know about bushy mustache next to you. I don't know.
Bushy mustache?
Andy Reid.
Oh, Andy Reid.
Some of
The
some of
frozen
those-
mustache?
Some of those cheeky
Well,
little
it seems
things.
like all his picks have been undervalued individuals.
Steve, grab a mic. Tell us what you think about Raheem Morris.
I really don't have a thought. I'm going to have to wait and see. I mean, it's certainly not a big splash. Belichick would have been a mistake because of the control. I understand
Correct.
that. And I don't know what the other up-and-coming coaches are. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of neutral on it.
Yeah.
So you don't think someone else in control would not do better? You say him taking control. Maybe that's not a bad thing because the control we've got right now isn't working.
Well,
That's true. That's true, Mark. But you're giving up control. You're going to have to disrupt the entire front office for, what, a few years?
yeah.
And then you got to rebuild it again?
Yeah.
I just don't think that was a good idea.
What
If Belichick would have been somebody that you could pencil in for 7 or 8 years, it's different. But I don't think you have that with him. So you're going
I
to
agree.
tear apart your whole front office
But what I
for
heard,
maybe a few years
what
and
I-
then have to rebuild it again.
yeah, what
Doesn't
I
make
heard,
sense.
what I heard for a week was, if Belichick's coming, Rich McKay's out.
But he didn't, and he's out.
I know it, but he didn't come. And then the first thing they announced after Raheem Morris was hired was Rich McKay's going to run the United. I said Atlanta Chiefs.
But did-
Going to run the Atlanta United.
But didn't you find it unusual the GM wasn't running this?
Yeah.
Doesn't the GM typically hire the coach?
Fontenot.
They're married
I mean-
because my job is completely dependent upon yours.
So shouldn't the GM be the one who selects the coach because his job's dependent on the coach? he
Not a
picks?
doubt about it. And, at the end of the day, Blank's 81 years old. We keep talking about how many years this and the other. This is going to be a short thing. If it works, great. Maybe we can get you to lead a parade down Peachtree Street. Outside that, whoever inherits the team is firing all these
Hang
people.
on a second, guys. 81's not as old as it used to be.
It's getting a lot less old.
Although I can tell you, he has a great tan.
He does,
Bernie.
doesn't he? Arthur?
Arthur, he looks like, I sent a picture over to a buddy of mine. He was like, he looks like the guy who's complaining in an Italian restaurant. I ordered the ricotta, and you brought me ravioli. I'm not very happy with these decisions.
Yeah. So, it's all about control with those guys. And I heard something on the radio yesterday that it's 50-50, Fontenot and Morris, and when it comes to making decisions. A insider that said she can't say everything, but she worked for the Falcons, and that's kind of where she left it. She said, that's all I can say.
And then the organization this morning was like, okay, there's only 7 women who are currently employed. These 2 wouldn't know anything. All right, I'm pretty sure it's Jan
yeah.
or Marcia.
Oh, yeah. And then you have to say, now, which one of them would actually acknowledge knowing Chuck?
Angie's not there anymore.
Really,
so yeah,
really
she's,
pares it down quite
she's
a bit.
out of she's out of the loop.
Yeah.
She's out of the loop. So do you think they go get a free agent quarterback, or do they wait and draft?
I mean, this is
All I hear
It's a
Rivers
billion-dollar
changing his
question.
number to 22. So
all I can say is that I've been talking for about Mr. Smith for 3 years, talking about how he made Tannehill. He took Tannehill off of a trash heap.
You're talking about
and-
Arthur
and-
Smith, right?
Correct. And turned him into, a number one AFC leading kind of guy. At least we don't have to worry about that anymore. I think there will be a quarterback coming to town. I don't know who it'll be, but I'd imagine it's probably that draft pick.
Yeah. Farrell, would you grab Adam's microphone there for a second and let us know what you think? What do you think about the Falcons' choice,
Choice of what?
head coach?
Well, he's young.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll have him for at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Before he has to retire. I
Yeah.
don't know. But seriously, I don't know much about him, but was he a good assistant coach years ago when he was here? I know he was here for 3 or 4 years as an assistant coach. Did we like what he did?
I have to be honest. I didn't pay that much attention to what he did here.
I think the defense was okay.
Well, it was okay, but even back then we spent most of our money on the offense. So
Absolutely, yeah.
we thought enough of him to make him the intern coach. So I'll say that's pretty high praise.
Or the interim coach.
Or the interim coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
That's right.
Adam's an intern. He was interim.
Yeah. That's right. He was the
He
interim
got paid
coach.
big bucks.
Yeah, until they hired Smith, right?
Mike Smith.
Yeah, Mike Smith.
Was that,
He was-
no, Mike Smith was
No,
before
no,
Dan
no.
Quinn.
We
He
hired
was the
this
interim
guy.
coach before we just hired the one we just fired,
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith. Sorry about that. Yeah, Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's good. A little fresh blood. But have I heard as well that he is keeping a fair amount of the assistant coach staff that's currently there, or is he bringing in new people, or do
I
we know
have not
yet?
heard.
Some of both.
I've heard there's like 3 or 4 on these keeping, like the special teams coach and
Okay.
a few like that.
And I heard another one today who was the coach or whatever. I can't remember his name, Jerry Walker or something like that. But
Defensive coordinator.
he's been a coach for 26 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
But the
Well-
defensive coordinator was a unique pick. I mean, the former Washington coach.
Washington coach. Yeah,
Okay.
Before Washington was good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and also Zach Robinson from the Rams.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing is they have an advantage being in the worst conference in the league, in the NFC South. That no matter what they do, they always have a chance to win that division because they're all so bad. So maybe we have a chance to win the division next year. Maybe at 7-9 or 8-7 or whatever, however it adds up to 17. So we'll see.
Based on the quarterback.
That's right.
Based on the quarterback. Everything's based on the quarterback. There's so many teams out there that just need a quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't think we should take. Not everybody's going to be as lucky as Houston. Okay, you're not going to get a rookie,
A C.J. Stroud like that.
You're going to have to get a quarterback, and I think you need to do a Green Bay thing. You need to bring in somebody to run the team for a year or two and let somebody learn. Otherwise, you take these young guys and you demoralize
The
them.
way Jordan Love was under
Yeah, I think
Aaron.
Jordan Love was a great.
And those are great things to do unless you're on a three-year contract and the world's chomping it. We want wins. We want wins.
You give me Kirk Cousins, and then I'll draft a decent
Oh
quarterback.
no, I believe Kirk Cousins can win no matter where he goes because he's
know?
gonna put the
Would you
put the
take-
ball in the
would
air.
you take Russell Wilson?
I would not take Russell Wilson.
And right now, there's no quarterback here for anybody to learn under.
Correct.
So we have to bring in
Well,
2
that's true.
quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, sometimes you can learn from a bad example. But
And
That's
just
true.
to make sure it gets said, did anybody else hear about Arthur Smith this week?
no,
Signed
I
as
did
offensive
not.
coordinator with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What did he do?
Signed as offensive coordinator with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
because
Holy moly!
because our
are
offense
you
was so
still
good, they thought
certain
they
we don't
needed
have to
some
worry
of
about the
that.
Ravens for years to come? Because if ever, you've got
I
Pickett.
love Mike Tomlin.
You've got Little Hands Pickett running the show, and now you've got Smith calling his plays. I don't know about that one.
Well, is Pickett better than what we had?
I think so.
Barely,
I do too.
barely,
Yeah.
not by much.
No,
But
but
you know,
we'll see.
I know we're all over it, but when I watched that offense, they didn't seem a very sophisticated offense. I mean, their receivers were not running.
Clearly not.
running.
You talk about the
great-
Falcons?
Yeah, they weren't running great route trees.
Nope.
They weren't doing crosses. They weren't doing things that I've seen other teams run. They were running very basic vanilla things. They were setting him up to do 7-step drops when they had 3 seconds to throw it.
Correct.
I mean, I didn't think the offense was set up for a young guy.
It wasn't. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Ritter's biggest problem was his turnovers, especially
his
inside the
five
red zone.
and inside the other
Yeah.
five.
Yeah, when I think I'm going to die, I make some frantic decisions.
We have
I
a
want to send like 3 of those 200, 300-pound guys.
we have a Facebook comment that I would like to read
Go for it.
from some guy
From
named
Russ.
Rusty Phillips.
Oh, Rusty.
No.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, let me tell you this right now. Read it, but it doesn't matter.
Absolutely, it matters.
Belichick would have been a great hire. The front office needs to be kicked to the curb. Arthur needs to keep his nose out of the day-to-day. He's a terrible owner and does not know how to lead. Belly is a winner with the right personnel.
I rest my case.
I'll say
Rusty's
this
been
for
on a
Rusty.
guest many times.
Rusty has. It was me, Rusty, and Chuck the very first time I came and sat here. But I'll say this: the front organization does mostly need to get fired. He's not wrong about that part. Maybe all the other parts, but that part he was.
But to Steve's credit, I agree. To do all that for 2 years, because Belichick wasn't going to be here forever, I'd like
not.
the longer-term decision rather than a short-term decision. Because I don't think this team is ready to win next year.
No, Belichick is a 3-year proposition at best.
And to Farrell's point about you're in the worst division in football, so you could probably win it. Is that all anybody wants? I mean, nobody wants to go in.
Well, you wanna be the-
we're 9-8. And, here comes this team. We want a good team.
I know.
We want a chance.
So we don't want to be a Dallas.
No,
We do
don't
not want to be
Dallas.
a Dallas.
No, we don't want to be a
We want
Dallas.
to be a
Stop.
Just lean back. Lean
Stop.
back. You did not take your medicine like a man 2 weeks ago. You do not get to comment at this point.
All right, so let's stop and
I wasn't the one that was sick.
Let's stop.
Don't blame that on me.
Maybe you don't understand the word stop. Let's stop and do our last commercial if we could. American Axis.
American Axis. Tired of going to the same old place for the same old thing? American Axis has your solution. Whether you're looking for something new to do before or after the game, bachelor or bachelorette party, or somewhere new to take those out-of-town guests, American Axis has 3 Atlanta locations located in Marietta, Tucker, and now in downtown at the Works. Each and every location is conveniently and not coincidentally located next to a brewery. Look us up at American Axis or give us a call at 678-763-3635 to schedule your next adventure.
Thank you, Dan Fisher, for being a sponsor. This is Chuck Burge on 3 Guys Who Love Sports. Today it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys who love sports, but we're having a good time.
And this thing. Nobody's mentioned this thing. This thing.
This is something Larry brought for the celebration of our 2nd anniversary and 100th show.
I thought it was like a magic 8-ball where Chuck was going to like rub it and try to come up with like
That
That was my
connections for the future.
wife's contribution.
Hey,
Thank you, Mara.
we thank you.
Yeah, so we're here with Robert Kinney and Mark Warr, who was one of the hosts on our original show 2 years ago. Steve Pearson, the thought behind the show.
Show
Farrell Middleton.
100.
Yeah, Farrell Middleton, who's been on the show a couple times. ATI, the intern, and of course, Larry, the engineer, has been here since the get-go. So really, it's just me and Larry that have been here forever. But it's a fun show. We're happy to have you with us today, and we'll do our last segment, and we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Super Bowl. Farrell, let's start with you. Who do you think and why?
Oh boy, I think you got to go with Kansas City. They're just that good. San Francisco, their 2 wins they've been scraping by.
They should have lost both
Scraping
games.
by. They should have lost both games, but they did not. I was so hoping Detroit was going to win, but you got to play 60 minutes, not 30. So anyway, but I think that Kansas City, they just clearly have the advantage. Game plan, game structure. They got everything on all cylinders.
And
so
every person on the team's been there.
exactly. What's the spread? Anybody know what the spread is at this point?
It
San
started
Francisco
at-
by 2.
It started at
started
San Francisco
two,
by
but now-
1.
Yeah, but now I saw it at 2. But now I think Kansas City's 1. I don't know. But
Okay.
it started out at San Francisco minus 2.
It was San Francisco by 1.5 was the first spread, and it's
Okay.
gone up a half a point. So it's San Francisco by 2.
Oh, really? See, I've
Okay.
seen it the other way. So
I
that's
would
kind of
put my
wild.
money on the Chiefs.
How can you bet
How can you
against
not?
Patrick Mahomes at this point in stage, even though ATI hates him? It's just a tough thing. So thanks, Farrell.
You're welcome.
Farrell,
Glad to be here.
Farrell's been on the show several times, and Farrell's one of the unique guys that has been a general manager in the NFL for 2 teams. Isn't that right?
I have been
You-
for 2 teams,
yeah,
yes,
he-
and I'm not in the Super Bowl. Maybe I need a new career. I don't know.
Farrell, we do a show in April during the NFL draft where we have 10 guys come in and each one takes a team and they become the general manager for the day.
Unfortunately,
And make the
10
picks.
guys didn't show up.
No, one guy did not show up, so Farrell got to make 2 picks. He got promoted right in the middle of the show to
Yeah,
to a
you were
different team.
Panthers. You were
Yeah.
the number 1 pick,
I was
as
the
I
number.
remember.
Yeah, I had the number 1 pick, and when I picked up that second team, y'all did not double my salary either. And
Oh, yeah, we
did.
did.
I'm
We
going to talk
did.
about
We did
that.
it from
We
0 to
did.
0.
0 to-
All right, well, we appreciate you coming by on this special day.
And we
of
appreciate
our
you
100th show.
joining the 3 Guys Who Love Sports Fantasy League. We love having you
Absolutely.
there, and
Yeah.
we
Mark's
make
in
we
that
make
too.
we make great donations every year out of that. So we really appreciate it.
Like in my golf game, I was a contributor in that particular endeavor. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad
There you
to
go.
do it again next year if you want my money.
So
if
am I.
you want my money.
And as
Yeah.
the 2-time defending champion of the league that's only been around for 2 years, we love you just contributing. I don't want you.
what's
I don't
his
want
wee-
you to draft well.
what's
I don't know about
What's
you,
his
but
wee
I'm
stuff? You
somewhat
got a
offended
mouse
by
in your
that.
pocket.
No, I was. It was left over from the Moses Malone conversation earlier
Yeah.
when I was talking about we.
I guess if you can win, you can brag about it. Whatever.
There you go. There you go. All right. So Farrell is on the Chiefs. Let's go to ATI.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think that Detroit would have made it not as good a game. I think this is a fantastic matchup. You know, Kansas City showed off their fantastic defense last week against one of the top offenses in the NFL.
That Chris Jones is a stud.
Yes, he is. And, you know, San Francisco has the offensive pieces, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy,
Kittle.
So it's going to be a tough game for everybody. I think it'll be probably a pretty defensive matchup, not quite what we saw here in Atlanta, the Rams-Patriots game, but
Lord, I hope not.
But I mean, I got to pick San Francisco.
So we got one each. You know what? Hey, Carrick, you want to come give us your pick on the Super Bowl? No? Carrick is saying no. Oh, wait, Larry's handing him a mic now.
Maynard G. Krebs does not want to talk unless, of course, you've got the microphone out. Then he'll take
Now he's got it. Carrick
Yes,
Martin.
I had sentimental reasons to pick the Lions, so I'm boycotting the Super Bowl.
Okay. So we have 1-1 and a no. And a no pick.
1-1 no.
1-1 no. Steve, how about you, buddy?
I'm not sure I've
You're
decided.
the only Steve.
Yeah, he was getting ready to try to hand the microphone.
I think I suffer also from Mahomes fatigue with him, with all the commercials and stuff. But, man, the guy's good, and he's got some swagger. I do think San Francisco is probably better at all of the other positions with the exception of tight end, but Kittle's pretty good too.
Kittle beat me in the fantasy league by 0.3 points. Go ahead.
Who did
Good.
that?
I like him a little bit better as I know more about him. I think San Francisco will. You've already knocked my tee off once.
I did?
No, you didn't. That's right. I think San Francisco will win. I'm probably rooting for the Chiefs, even with the Mahomes fatigue. My brother's a big Chiefs fan. But I think San Francisco is going to win.
Mark, talk to us.
Well, now that Cinderella lost her slipper, Detroit won't be there, which I think would have been a great game to watch because it's always good to have a Cinderella.
Absolutely.
But I think Kansas City's going to win in the blowout. I don't think San Fran's defense is up for it. When you look at the metrics on it, they've been there less than they were, and a lot of Super Bowls end up in blowouts.
They do.
So that's my pick.
Sticking
know
with
what?
it.
You know, somebody we need to give a pick that we never give a pick to? Larry the engineer. Larry, what do you think?
Look at Smiley.
Look at this.
Hey, Larry, you want to talk?
Larry's like, oh, they're going to ask me.
Ultimately, I think I want San Francisco to win. I want to see Purdy go from Mr. Irrelevant to a Super Bowl in his rookie contract. And I think that would be something else, and I think San Francisco's going to pull it out.
Well, that's
They're going to
pretty
make a Disney movie about him.
Well, you know, last year last week we had the last draft of the pick, last pick of the draft versus the first pick of the draft.
Yeah,
So that was
exactly.
pretty cool. Yeah.
You know, you couldn't make a Disney movie about anybody, but the kid from Iowa, yeah, he comes into the big locker room. Ooh, Trey Lance, all these other people. No, just go.
Iowa
with that.
State, isn't it?
Iowa
from-
State.
No, but he's from Iowa.
Oh, the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Farm boy.
Yeah. He is a farm boy. So how about you, partner?
When the Chiefs first started this run, I was really excited because I thought maybe I don't have to see butt chin Brady anymore, and thank goodness he was there to end that reign of terror from New England. Unfortunately, there's a new dominating force, and I think Farrell hit on it really, really well. You know, both teams are winners; they're both doing stuff, but you know, they killed the Dolphins. They stymied the Bills. They killed the Ravens. Sooner or later, the Niners are probably going to get it put together. I really don't want to bet against the Niner organization or Patrick Mahomes. I'd bet against the Chiefs, but it's that whole Mahomes factor. I take the Niners if you let me say straight up. But that 2-point spread, I could see it, if they pull it out, it'd be a 21-20 game, and I'd still lose.
So you're not going to go with my blowout, huh?
No, I'm gonna say the Niners. I think McCaffrey wins Super Bowl MVP. He's got 120 yards rushing and a couple scores, but it wouldn't surprise me if Taylor's doing her shake it off at the end of it.
She'll be. Somebody posted a picture of her blowing the whistle. Said that. So showed her as a referee. Said that's why she got all the. That's why Kansas City got all the calls last week. I said, well, if she blew the whistle, she was just a little swift with it. So.
I'm sure whoever you told that to
End
is
the show.
getting ready to
End
come out
the
of a coma.
show.
Well, let me say this about Baltimore turned the ball over twice inside the red zone last week. That was a one-score game. It wasn't like they blew them out in the second half. Kansas City didn't score in the second half, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that was a lot closer game than you would have expected. I mean, yardage-wise and time of possession.
I thought there was a decent chance Baltimore was going to put 40 up on them. I mean, judging by how they not happening.
But Zay Flowers just had to show himself. And it cost him, and then the dive into the end zone. I mean, I've seen that happen several times.
I like the aggressiveness on the dive. You're absolutely right about the other part, though.
But the interception in the end zone, and then Zay Flowers dropping the ball on the half-yard line, and Baltimore's up. So it was a lot closer game than you think. Farrell, you guys have something to say?
I do. One thing on that is, excellent point there, of course. But I think the thing that I saw is that Baltimore was not disciplined. Mm-hmm. The penalties, the sloppiness.
They had four personal foul penalties.
You gotta be crisp in the NFC or the AFC Championship game, and they weren't. And consequently, and look, I'm not a huge Chiefs fan. I'm an NFC guy, so I'd like to see San Francisco win. But Kansas City is so disciplined with how they run the game, and over the course of 60 minutes. That's going to pay off, I think. But Baltimore's, they were just undisciplined.
Yeah. Spagnuolo's a great coach. He does whatever he has to do to stop the strength of the offense that they're playing against.
Let me ask this question. Does anybody know, is Kadarius Toney playing in that game? Because that could affect the way I go on that.
Save us, Kadarius Toney.
He was upset about being inactive for this past week.
Man, it really sucks to be you then.
Yeah. But let me tell you, so Kansas City's missing a big part of their defense. So the guy that knocked the fumble loose.
That's correct. Jones is running mate.
Yeah, and Snead recovered the fumble, obviously. Snead's a great player, too. They got some great play on the defense end. But
Legarius.
Yes, but I don't think it's going to matter. I got to agree with Mark. I'll go somewhere between a point and a blowout. But I just think Kansas City is the dynasty of right now, whether they're a dynasty long term or not. But 4 years out of 5 they've been to the Super Bowl now? And Mahomes is in his 4th one before he's 30. I mean, that's pretty stinking strong.
Let me ask you this question. Knowing that Kelsey's shelf life as the dominant force in being the tight end, which obviously works really well with Andy Reid's play calling and vision of everything, knowing that sun is getting ready to set, do they trade up for a Bowers?
Oh, I don't know.
Could you imagine
I don't know
if they had both of those guys next year?
I don't know if they have to trade up for him. He might slide that far.
I don't think he's sliding to the 30th pick. They'd have to trade up to 8 or 9 or something like that to get him. But it's scary.
You think, that Mahomes and Kelsey pair is now number 1, right? In terms of touchdowns.
More catches than Rice.
Yeah, more than anybody. Yeah. So that's a pretty dominant combination from Mahomes to Kelsey.
17 games already.
Yeah.
Hey, one other thing, if I might, real quick, back first, in hopes of San Francisco winning the game, which I do. That second half they played, that might be the best half of football I saw all season from a football team. They were down,
24 to
7 at halftime. They absolutely destroyed Detroit in the second half. There were a couple of plays that did it, the weird, the bounce off the helmet and, then the fumble in the next play or whatever the case, but they racked up points really fast, but they just shut them down. And that was a really good half of football they played. Hopefully they'll bring that again for another 60 minutes and they can beat Kansas City.
Well, I used to be a big Jerry Rice fan. He was one of my favorite players of all time. The very first fantasy league I was in, I was fortunate enough to draw the first pick, and Jerry Rice was my pick. And I'll never forget that. And used to be a big Niners fan, but I got to pull for the Chiefs. Harrison Butker, that Georgia Tech kicker,
Love him.
Well,
Yeah,
you had to work
he's
that
my
in there.
man. So I got to go with the Chiefs. So, did you say who you're going with Chiefs, right?
I know I'm going Niners, but don't worry, we've got another week. We've got another show before, and I might change my pick next week.
Yeah, we'll be able to change
I won't.
by next week.
Whatever,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Logano. Just
Will-
worry about your number 23.
Will the Thrill Renfro's in the house. Will, do you want to make a prediction on the Super Bowl on the show?
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Taylor Swift will win the
Swiftie.
Super Bowl, according to
But she's definitely going to get the most out of it.
yeah. Well, you know,
Only if she can make it back from Tokyo.
yeah, because she got a show. She got a tight window.
She's going to land.
Well,
a
she's got her
helicopter
private
and
plane. She'll make
airline.
it.
She'll figure it
For
out.
a guy who lives by the pun, I'm trying to leave that one. Taylor's got a tight window. I'm just leaving that out.
You might want it in there, Robert.
I know,
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
enough. That's enough about Taylor and her Swifties. But that was great. Well, guys, it's been a great show. As we said before,
Show
this
100.
Show 100 is in the
100.
books. 2 years of doing this. Steve, thank you for the inspiration.
Absolutely.
You're the man. And we've been around for a long time. And Carrick is here, who is our inspiration for the Owl Show. We'll be back at 7 o'clock to do that. We've been doing that one quite a while, too.
Year and a half.
About 17, 18 months now. So come join us at 7. We have Mano Johnson from the volleyball team that's going
Lord,
to join
that's
us.
going to be interesting.
And she's going to spike something on Adam's head. That'll be a beautiful thing.
All we
to
know
see
is that
tonight.
Adam does not want her to be with him when he's in the jungle, unlike the last person who had that
Actually,
conversation.
Bad choice of words.
Coincidentally,
The woods is the used word we used.
you
No,
used
it
the
was-
woods.
No, it was the jungle.
I thought it was the
Was it? It
jungle.
It was a jungle.
Okay.
I thought it was the jungle.
Yeah, you used
I actually have a new addition to the decathlon to
Yeah.
tell you about once we get to the show.
We'll talk about it at 7
Can't wait
o'clock.
to hear about it.
Until then, thanks everybody. Miller's Ale House, thank you for having us again
As always.
every Wednesday, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week on the Dalmatian Show. 101. Until then, have a great week. See ya. Oh, cover your ass. Get your prostate checked.